right, we're back. We are MAPD724 in the winter 2020 semester at Centennial. It's Advanced iOS, and it's week 5, part 2 of our broadcast. And we're talking about a couple things. So one of the things we want to talk about now, after we've got this going, we've got our plane, but I want to move my ocean. And we talked about this last time. Our ocean, right now, it's just sitting here. So we want to do the same trick we did with SpriteKit, right? Earlier this semester. And this is a great thing. We can actually test this like this. So I want the ocean to come from here. I want it to kind of scroll down here. And when it gets to a position off screen, this is what I want it to do. Look, I want it to go off screen. It's going to hit this part right here. When it hits this part, it's going to go back to the top again. That's what I want it to do. Okay? It's going to keep doing this looping stuff over and over again, forever and ever. That's what I want it to do. And it's going to look like it's scrolling forever. That's what's happening here. Okay? So that's what I want the ocean to do. The ocean has to start a specific spot, right? And my ocean has a bit of a problem. So I'm going to cheat, right? Hey, games, it's all about, being a bit of a cheater, right? And let me explain what I'm going to do here. A couple of things I could do. I could make it so that the ocean is bigger, much bigger than my size of my screen, which might be okay, right? Again, if you look at the waves, so far the waves look like they're pretty big, right? As an example, this is a pretty big ocean, and normally the waves aren't like this. They're much, they're different size, right? So what I could do, instead of scaling the ocean down like I did so it matches the sides, I could dial it up, and I mean like a lot, like maybe a few times bigger than this. So instead of 0.72, I could make it like something like 2 by 2, something like this. So twice as big. So this is the cheat. So I could make it so that it does from here, right? And when it comes down to this, it comes back down to this, and as soon as it goes here, it resets. That's the cheat, right? Why? You're never going to see this part anyway. This is going to be off screen anyway. So we don't care how big it is, right? At the end of the day, this is the cheat. And I could have done this with SpriteKit too, but I wanted to use 2 oceans, okay? So I could do it this way. That's one thing. Notice if I go off screen, one thing that we want to do is we definitely want to make sure that the bottom of the ocean never ever is going to be seen down here. So this position of the ocean right now, which is 9.4, right, is where the ocean is going to be. Maybe look, I'm making it 2 times larger, twice, 2 instead of 0.7 something. Okay. So here's my ocean. Okay, cool. If we assume that this is the top of the ocean at 9.4, this is going to be the reset point. Okay, so we're going to say that we want the ocean to reset at 9.4. When the ocean comes down here, right to the top, which is approximately negative 9 point something, let's see what it is, 9.4, and let's make sure it's right, because if it's off any way, so if I go negative 9.4, right, from negative 9.4 to 9.4, notice how that worked out just perfectly, right? Negative 9.4 to 9.4. So let's put it to 9.4 again. Okay? So that's going to be my ranges. I'm going to make an ocean controller. Let's go back to scripts. I'm going to make a new script. Right click, make a new C# script. We're going to call this C# script ocean controller. Okay? Here's my ocean controller. I'm going to double click to make the script bigger. Okay, so ocean controller, here it is. Right? Okay, what do I want my ocean controller to do? On update, I want to move my ocean down the screen a certain amount of speed. Okay, let's make we'll use another public variable. We'll call this, this thing is going to be a float as an example, and it's going to be ocean speed, we'll call it. Okay, or just vertical speed. Okay. We're going to set a value for this ocean speed at around, now remember, think about this. Each unit is pretty big, right? Like 1 would be like, whew, it's going to be really big. Can't do 1. It's going to be pretty small. So let's try something like 0.05 5. Okay, I'm coming up with a value. I don't know if this is right yet, but that might be the vertical speed. Okay, maybe that's even too fast. All right, so again, vertical speed is 0.05. What I want to do, and if I save this, and if I go back to the ocean, and then I attach that script, again, 2 ways to attach. I can click Add Component and search for it, or I can just drag and drop like this. Just drag and drop, right? So again, if it doesn't connect like this, then you can just, if this doesn't work, you can also remove components by right-clicking this little gear icon, and I go to remove component. I can put it back on. I can just simply just put it back in by clicking Add Component and just look for it. Ocean controller. I can do that too by Add Component, right? And you can see I can see the vertical speed here in the inspector. Why is this good? Well, guys, I can modify this vertical speed at runtime. No, which is a good thing. I can change it here, and then whatever it is going to be here is going to be the one that's going to be once I change it here. Okay? Okay, so this is my ocean controller. What I want from my ocean controller is this thing is going to be added to my my X component, right? So I'm going to say that transform dot position, right? I can't do dot X. I can read it, but I can't write to it. I can only read it. So this doesn't work. Position is equal to, and again, if I made it a new vector 2, then I can't do plus equals because position by itself by default is a vector 3. Notice if I hover over it says vector 3. So I could, I'm cheating, I could make it plus equals to a new vector 3, right? And I need 3 components now, X, Y, and Z. Guess what Z is going to be? 0. So I can just say that on the, all I care about is the x-axis, the y-axis. The x-axis is not going to change. So the x-axis is going to be 0. The y-axis is what I really care about, which is going to be vertical speed, right? And then I'm going to make it 0 for the z-axis. Now, if I add, that goes up. I want to subtract in this case, which is going to go down. I want to subtract from the position. Does this make sense? Okay. Now, vertical speed is going to be my new position, right? I'm adding vertical speed. Okay, I want to be able to clamp my position. I want to be able to check bounds again somehow, right? I can't do my trick that I did last time because this isn't that kind of thing. And I don't want to do this here. I want to take this away from here and put it into its own move function. So I'm going to say that, okay, private void underscore move. I want to do this time for sure. And I want to take this little transform line, take it out of here, put it into here, right? And I want to call move from here, underscore move, like before. And I want to have another function called check bounds. Private void check bounds. Okay. Okay. And I want to call check bounds every frame, so underscore check bounds. And what I want to do with the check bounds is this. If the bottom of my ocean gets to negative 9.4, right? So if this, the bottom, my ocean gets to negative 9 point, is it 9.4, 9.6? Let's see what it is. If this gets to here, right, which 9.4, negative 9.4, if that's where it gets to, then I want to reset it to 9.4. So I want to say that if my transform dot position dot y is less than or equal to a negative 9.4 f for float, right? Then what I wanted to do is I want to reset. I don't have reset, but I'm going to define it right down here. private void underscore reset. There it is, right? Reset. And I'm going to say that this dot, or sorry, transform dot position dot y is now going to be set to, by default, 9.4f. And I can't do this, right? So I have to make a new, we'll use a vector 2 this time. And it'll be x and y. X will be 0.0. We're not going to move the x-axis, right? We're only going to move the y-axis to this. And not the y, just this. Okay. So I have reset, I have check bounds, and I have up move. Move, check bounds, and reset. That looks very familiar. Didn't we do this exact same thing in SpriteKit? This is what I was telling you. You make a Hello World game or Hello World application, and then when you go into another platform, this is an example of another platform, iOS, on Unity, right? I learned Unity by understanding how I did my other game before, and now I know what to do. I have my pattern in my head of how to program, right? This is the idea. Okay, let's see if this works. Let's see if this functionality happens, right? So I'm hoping it will. I'm guessing it will, but let's see. So if I go back, I want the ocean to move. Let's press play, and if it works, we're going to see an endless scrolling ocean that goes forever and ever. And if everything goes well, it's going to reset properly, and it's going to look like it's scrolling forever. We do, but this is what's really happening. Let's take a look. We can actually see it in real time. Look, this is what's really happening. It comes to the bottom, and then it's going to go poof, like this, right? That's what's happening. Just up here. I'm switching some game, I'm switching to scene. And this is in real time. If I want to try this faster, let's say I think this is too slow, let's try and change these values now. I want to say, this is too slow, let's move it so it's 1. Okay, so that's faster. Let's move it so it's 1, 0. This is what it really looks like if it's 1, 0. And you can actually see the effect of this. Like, it'll be like, woohoo, I'm really flying, I'm cooking, right? And that's why this value is here. This value in vertical speed, I can do it in real time. I can play with it. I can say, I don't think that's I think it's too slow. I want to make it so it's 0.1. Maybe that's better. Let's see what that looks like, 0.1. So if I go back to the game, that looks like it's pretty fast. Looks like it's pretty good. It's going to take it from here. So now I've tested it. 0.05 is too slow. I'm going to change it right here to 0.1 in the editor. So this is the editor. Whatever's in the editor is what's going to be in the game. Okay, at the end of the day. Unless I override it somehow with my script. It can be done, but it's kind of weird. Okay, so let's go back to this. So again, some issues. I mean, I've cheated to make this ocean really big. I like it and I don't like it. It's kind of really, really huge for the plane. You got these waves, but you know, at the end of the day, it looks like this, right? Kind of looks exactly what we want, which is the iPhone XR. And now I want clouds and islands, right? Let's make this happen. Let's finish this game today. Remember how long it took us to SpriteKit? We took like how many days? 3, right? We can do this all in 1 day. Okay, now that I have my ocean, I like it. If I want to have another level, I want to keep it. So I'm going to drag and drop it into my prefabs folder like this. Take your ocean, drag and drop it into prefabs. Just like I have my player.
And what happens when you drag and drop it?
It converts it into a template, which means if I have a second level, and instead of me configuring my ocean again, doing all those things I just did, I can just drag and drop it from the prefabs back into the level, and I have everything there. I don't have to configure anything anymore. The script is part of it, the settings, everything is part of it again. And that's why I did the same thing with my player. I don't want to remember all these things I did, right? Again. Prefabs are awesome. Okay, ready? Let's do the next part. Island. Again, I'm going into my textures. I'm going to grab my island texture and drag it into the scene. Okay. And my island texture, it looks like it's pretty small. All right. My island is like, scale is 1. I made my ship 1.5. I'm going to make my island 1.5 too. So it's going to be 1.5 big. Here's my hit size, 1.5. There we go. That's pretty good. I'm going to start my island off screen. So I'm going to kind of put it up here. And this is going to be the reset position. Here's the reset position up here. Notice the reset position is 5.6 for the reset position for my island. Okay? Okay, now I want to make a new script. It's going to be called Island Controller. I don't know if you see the pattern already, right? Island Controller. Sometimes people, instead of calling it controller, they call it behavior. Island behavior. Island controller. Player behavior. Player controller. So here's my island controller. My island controller is going to do this. When the island starts off, it's going to start off screen here. And this position is important, 5.46. Okay, I'm going to do it before I plan anything. Then when it comes down here, and it leaves the screen completely at negative 5.46. Notice how it's symmetrical, right? So 5.46 here, off screen, and negative 5.46, okay? Let's go to my island controller and do this. So, again, I'm going to have a couple of functions. Reset, speed, and check bounds. Uh-oh, I'm duplicating. What do I need? A class. I need my own game object class if I want to do this properly. However, we're going to do this all in one day, so we're not going to create no class. We're just going to copy paste. So here in public, I'm going to make a new public float called vertical speed. We're going to set the vertical speed to the same as the ocean. We know we tested it. 1.0 F is what it should be because we tested it in my editor. I know this is true, right? Cool? 1.0 F. And then I'm going to make a few functions. I'm going to make a move function, a check bounce function, and a reset function. And I'm going to just copy them from my ocean controller like this. Ocean controller, copy exactly all this. And go back to my island controller and paste it in.
For transfer position, do we need minus equal or plus minus?
Minus. This, you mean? Or when I'm moving?
When you're moving.
Did I spell it differently? Oh, vertical speed. Oh. No, when I'm moving down, because I'm going down from 0, I'm going down. Down is negative.
Okay.
All right, in this context. In SpriteKit, no, but here, yes. All right, so all I'm doing is I just copy pasted. That's all I did. Copy paste it. And then it's in my update, I'm just going to put move, check bounce, and that's it. Move and check bounce. Same thing, right? Like literally copy pasted everything, right? All right, now the difference is this part. Look, this part here. And this part, if we think about what I'm doing, I want to change this to negative 5.46. Negative 5.46. And this one here is 5.46. Okay, now we see a pattern. Once I see a pattern, there's a couple things I can do. Okay, and you're going to be mad at me now. I can use the exact same script. Right? I made a script. I can drag the same script onto 2 different game objects. And it has the same behavior. The only thing I need is a boundary. I have the upper boundary and the lower boundary. The right boundary and the left boundary. And I can do that by creating some kind of class up here. Right? Or a struct. Like this. Watch. So I can make a new struct. Follow me here. So it's going to be public struct, right? And it's going to be called boundary. Okay, it's my own public struct. My public struct boundary is going to literally have those things. It's going to have a float for a left bounds, right? Left bounds. I'm going to have a float for right bounds. I'm going to have a float for upper bounds. And I'm going to have a float for lower bounds. And each of these objects are going to be public. This is important. If I don't make them public, bad things will happen. All right? So I need to make all these public. Okay? So public. public. Try to copy paste, but you know my mouse is. I got fat fingers.
I don't know about the art block, and that's gonna
Similar, yeah. So, okay, if you notice that, I got this little boundary class, and I want to, this is new, I want to system.serialize it. I want to make it serializable. If I make it system serializable, it'll be available anywhere in my project. Boundaries. And if this is the case, if I can do this, right, then inside of my class, this one, I can make it so that this class itself has a boundary. So I can say that I have a public boundary called boundary. Okay? Does that make sense? Because I have I'm using a boundary. By the way, notice I'm not using a constructor. I don't need to. Left bounds, right bounds, upper bounds, lower bounds, right? Make sense? Here's boundary. Huh?
usual C# behavior.
What?
No constructors.
No. Scripting, right? All right, if I did this now, right? And what does it look like on my island controller, right? Again, all I did was this. We're gonna extract this in a second. We're gonna put this in its own file. But first I do it like this, show you what it does, then put it in its own file, then use it in the other thing and make it better. Because once we do this, we can use it for other things like cloud. All right, so how do I do this? So if I go back, and if I go back to my island, I need to connect my script, my island controller script. I'm gonna just use my add component, island, to find it. And you can see now that it has boundary. Look, it comes up. Isn't that a beautiful thing? I made a class and it's in the inspector. It shows it. Okay, I want this to be in my ocean as well, right? And if I have this, instead of having an ocean controller or an island controller, I can just have some kind of like, I don't know, game object controller or something else that controls both of them. Makes them move down, right?
What about collision detection? You're gonna have
That's
different
different.
so then-
That's a totally different thing, collision detection, right? Yes, you'd have to make it so that it collides with other things or whatever, right? But remember, we're going to do that separate. Okay, so I have my island. I could do this. If I want the same thing with my ocean doesn't have that. Wouldn't it be nice if I had the same thing with my ocean? Well, I can. Because I made this thing system serializable, it's now available anywhere in my code, right? So I can go to my ocean controller, and I can include a boundary as well. I can go public boundary, right? And I'll call this boundary. And if I did this, like this, and if I go back to here, you can see in my ocean controller now, I also have a boundary. Look, I added that in. Okay, this is nice, but I don't like it because I'm a developer and I like keeping my files separate. So let's make another file. Make a new file, new C# script. We're going to call this boundary, all right, by itself. Hold up, we're going to fix it. It's going to create an error for us for a second, okay? In my boundary, we can make a boundary class or a boundary struct. Let's get rid of mono behavior. This is how we do it. Get rid of mono behavior because it's not a mono behavior, all right? And we're going to get rid of all this start stuff, okay? And we're going to change a class to a struct. In fact, let's not even do that. Let's just go back to where we wrote it, which is inside of my island controller, and grab this whole thing the way it is. Look, whole thing, cut it, go back to my boundary, and then just paste it in there like this. And we're good to go, right? Now it's got its own thing. It's a struct. It's got its own thing. Remember a struct and a class? What's the difference between a struct and a class? C#. Yes. What's the difference between a struct and a class? C++.
By default, meant private.
And public structs. That's it. The same thing, right? So, so here you can see left, right bounds, upper bounds, lower bounds, right? And now what we want to do is in my island controller, I want to save this one so I don't have that anymore, but I wanted to test it first. Okay, so if I know I have this anymore and I have a boundary, and I also have a boundary in my ocean controller, right? So instead of my boundary being what it is, I could simply say that I want to go to my lower bounds, right? So I can say that boundary, right? If my boundary is less than my lower bounds, whatever that is, this makes more sense. It's not hard-coded anymore, right? I don't want to hard code. And then when I go up, when I reset to my upper bounds, right? I reset to my upper bounds, boundary dot upper bounds. Okay? If you want to set it up so that you know what those things are, you could set it up in start. You could say that by default boundary dot upper bounds is equal to 9.4 f, and boundary dot lower bounds is equal to negative 9.4 f, if you really want to go there. By the way, these values can be different. So there we go, lower bounds, upper bounds. Right? This makes more sense, doesn't it? Because it's more readable. It's human readable when I see it. So when my transform position y is less than my lower bounds, then reset. Now you can read it, right? Okay, let's see what this looks like in the inspector. So in my ocean, it looks like this. Uh-oh. Left bounds, upper bounds. I need to put in there upper bounds 9.4, lower bounds negative 9.4. Remember the inspector, it takes over from the code. Make sure you do this. Okay? Same thing with the island. The island, we know that it's 5.46 and negative 5.46. So upper bounds 5.46, lower bounds negative 5.46. And this is really great to expose stuff in the inspector like this, because in real time I can test these values and change them. Right? I can't do that if they're not exposed, right? All right, island. Let's finish the island. We started doing the island, but I digressed, and I want to change this instead of negative 5.46 to boundary dot lower bounds, and I want to say boundary dot upper bounds. Okay. Okay, but now let's think. On reset, I want to do something else. Now we got to do something else. Remember my island? It was random, right? Well, where do I want it to be random from? Well, my island is going to be at the left bounds. Here's left bounds, right? Look, it's going to start off way over here. I'm going to make it so that the maximum it can start off is here. I'm just putting it inside the screen so I can see it. And that's at like negative 1.86. Wow, it looks very familiar. And to the right, maximum here, positive 1.86 approximately, right? Negative 1.86, positive 1.6. Let's mark it in. So left bounds, negative 1.86. Right bounds, 1.86. Okay? We have our numbers. We can put this off screen now. It doesn't matter where you put it, by the way, because it's going to reset. Okay, makes sense? So I kind of put my upper bounds and left bounds over here in my inspector. And my island, it's going to go from here to here. Okay, let's see how that works now. So now that I have my left bounds and right bounds, I can simply say that when I reset, my transform position is equal to this, but my x coordinate is going to be random, right? So let's make a float. Hey, let's not even use a float. Let's use var. Var will say the x coordinate, right? That's equal to random dot range, right? A random range between my left bounds, boundary dot left bounds, and boundary dot right bounds. And we're going to take this x coordinate and we're going to put it right in here. Does this make sense? So what does random range do? It generates a number between the minimum and max. That's what it does. Minimum and max. By the way, they're inclusive. It's inclusive. from the minimum to the maximum. Inclusive, not exclusive. Like some other random range. Okay, so this is it. So this will work. It'll go from the left bounce to the right. Every time it resets, it'll just give me a random position from the left side to the right side. I don't have to worry about width. I don't have to worry about any of that. Remember, I had to do like half width. I do all this other extra calculation. Now I got nothing. I got no calculations to make. All right, let's do this thing and let's see if it works. Are you with me? First of all, you got this code? Ignat, are you good? No, you're not good. Doesn't work. Let's see what happens. Oh man, that is like super like crazy fast. Vertical speed of 1. Well, that can't be 1. Let's change it to 0.1. Look, I did it in real time. I know that should be the vertical speed, 0.1, and it's going to be some random position. Okay, so this got to be changed. I made a mistake, 0.1. What did you do? What's wrong?
My ocean doesn't have this boundary.
Oh, because I put it in there. I put it in the ocean itself. If you go to the ocean controller, right? Then I put it in here. I said boundary. Public boundary. If you don't put public, it doesn't show up. Although you can make it show up, even with private. Okay. Okay, so are we good? So randomly, we got our island. Island's done. Cloud. Next one. Right? All right. Here's my cloud. I'm bringing my cloud in. Ready? Here it goes. Cloud. Okay, clouds. Wait, and before we do that, let's make sure our island is a prefab. So prefab island, drag island in here. Let's rename this island so that it is capital I for islands, because I made everything else capital I. And even this one here, I'll just rename it. So rename to island.
So we didn't do the job for island.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do it here. Actually, I can do it here. If I double click on a prefab, I can just go in here and change everything. I can change it. I can tag it like we normally do. Huh? Collision detection. We can use it for that, or other things. We don't need it, but I like to put it in because it's useful, right? So I create a new tag, go back to my island, and then open the prefab, and then tag it. There, excellent. Done. All right. Let's go back. So now we have our island, my ocean, and I have my cloud. I'm testing my cloud. I'm just going to make it a capital C for cloud. And when it comes into play, here's my cloud. Where is my cloud? Well, remember my cloud has a sprite renderer. My island also has a sprite renderer, and we got to make sure this is right because right when we haven't set it up. Somehow it worked for us, but it shouldn't. It should be order and layer for the island should be 1. Hey, but we made a change to the prefab. Guess what? You have to change it here. If you make a change to the prefab, you got to go to overrides and say apply all. And what this will do is it'll apply the changes to all the objects that are prefab from that thing. Example, bullets. If I have one bullet and I make a change to one of the bullets, and if I don't do override, only that one bullet will be changed. But if I override it, all the bullets will be changed. Okay? Override. Okay, let's go back to my cloud. Cloud. My cloud, the reason why it's not showing up is that order and layer is 0. Can't be order and layer 0. It's got to be order and layer 3. Like this. Okay? I'm saving the scene. Next, I want my color to be 50% transparent. So I want to click on this little color right here, and I want to go to my transparency, and I'm going to pull this this thing down to about 128. There's my 50% transparent. There's my cloud. Okay, I'm going to make a cloud controller. Just like we did before. You can do this, guys. It's just the same thing as we did. Cloud controller. I'm going to make sure it has a boundary. Okay? And it's going to have a vertical speed. And a horizontal speed this time, too.
Can we just assign the island?
No, it has some different things. It has some different things. We could. Eventually we could. Yeah, we can. But it takes some extra code. Double click on cloud. We have no time. Cloud controller. All right? See my cloud controller? I want everything in my cloud controller to be identical to my island controller. And we'll add to it. So I'll take my island controller. I'll copy everything inside of it, including this stuff here. I just won't take the name. Right? So everything inside here, all the way down to the bottom. Copy. Go to my cloud controller. And then just replace all this with that. Right? Here it is. I have a boundary. I have my... Now, here's something. My public vertical speed, I have a vertical speed. It's going to be random. And I also want to have my public float horizontal speed too. This is something that the cloud is going to have, right? Remember this? Let's make it, we'll take away the values. I don't care what my values are right now. We're going to add them. We're going to figure this out. This is where it's a little different. Okay. Oh man, we have horizontal speed and we have vertical speed. And you know what? What if we had that for everything? All objects have horizontal and vertical speed. I can make a new class. I can call it speed. And it can have horizontal and vertical components. And I can put them in there. And then everything that has that will have that same class. And then we have another pattern, right? But I'm not going to do that here to save time because I want to finish this thing in one day, right? All right, so we have these two things, public vertical speed, public horizontal speed. And I'm going to come down in here and I'm going to say the following. When I reset, all right, I'm going to go and change my horizontal speed and my vertical speed to random numbers. So again, I have two values, vertical speed and horizontal speed. I'm going to change my vertical speed and horizontal speed to random numbers. So I'm going to say that vertical speed is going to be a random range, vertical speed, between some kind of minimum and maximum value. All right? Minimum and maximum value. Now, this is where we can get funky. If I want this minimum and maximum value to be available for me to play with, I need to set it up on my, I'm just going to comment this up for a second. I need to set it up here. So vertical speed and horizontal speed, that's one. But I want my minimum speed and my maximum speed to be here as well. So now we're talking, right? Public float min speed. I can just call it minimum speed. Minimum. And public float maximum speed. Uh-oh. This looks like something that I can turn into a speed class, right? I'm just saying. I mean, it's calling for me to do this, right? So my minimum speed and maximum speed, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to resist my things. And I'm just literally going to go minimum speed from minimum speed to maximum speed. Okay?
Do we need to make it public or?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, if you want to, you can serialize field, even if you want to make it private. But for now, let's just do it like this. So that's vertical speed, minimum speed, maximum speed, right? Okay, cool. And by the way, I could make this minimum vertical speed, maximum vertical speed. And in fact, I need to do this because my horizontal speed is going to be different. It has to be different values. So I can't use the same value twice, so might as well just rename these things. I can right click and rename these symbols to minimum horizontal speed, or sorry, vertical speed, and maximum vertical speed, just rename symbol to maximum vertical speed. There we go. That's what gets renamed here. And then I just copy paste. Copy paste. And I'm going to change vertical to horizontal. But I don't have a minimum and maximum horizontal speed. I'm just going to make those. So up here, I'm going to make two more variables. Again, this is all going to be available in my inspector. And this is the beautiful thing, right? So this is minimum horizontal speed. And again, it's dying for a speed class, which I can call like minimum and maximum values. I could have other things, min and max, and whatever, but I'm not going to do that here. And I'm going to go down. I know you're shaking your head. Don't shake your head. And then this will be the horizontal speed. Right? And this will be horizontal speed. And now I have a bunch of things to control my my class. outside of my class, I can just put values in here and it's going to just generate my speed for me.
So in transform, you need to also do something with our horizontal.
We're going to do all kinds of stuff, yeah. So first of all, we set it here. My transform position is going to be the same, random range. This is all going to be the same stuff. But here, in my move function, it's going to be vertical speed plus horizontal speed here. Right? That's going to be the thing that's going to change. Whatever that ends up being, it's going to just modify here. Okay, so now that I have this, well, now I can bring it into my cloud. So cloud, I can attach it. So I'm going to add cloud controller. Right? And now when I add my cloud controller, I have all these values I can play with. Right? And we don't know what the values are, but we can figure them out. Okay, let's find out my boundaries first. So my left bounds is going to be here, right on the left. Left bound looks like, from a transform perspective, is like negative 1.8. Let's zoom in here to make it really nice so we can see that this is like pretty good. Yeah, negative 1.18. I'm going to take this value here, copy paste it. Left bounds, negative 1.18. And then we know that the other one is 1.18. Okay, cool. Upper bounds.
Are we not gonna rescale it to make it smaller?
Yeah, that might be a good idea. We'll make it like, let's say 0.5 the size. You say 75? Okay, sure, let's do 75. Well, that means we have to change the bounds again. Sure, I agree with you. So again, let's zoom in and let's go right to the left. You can see that that is going to be where it is. So that is a different value, negative 1.46 here and 1.46 here. Right? So negative 1.46 to 1.46. And then on the top, it's going to go to me, it looks like something like 566 and then negative 566, negative 5.666. Again, I mean, I'm being very accurate. You don't have to be even this accurate. You can be like 5.6. That'll be fine. In fact, I will do that. All right, so that's the upper bounds and lower bounds. There we go. And once I have this, now I need my maximum speed and minimum speed. So vertical speed, we know that the minimum vertical speed is going to be the minimum vertical speed is going to be the same speed as my island, the minimum vertical speed, right? By the way, see this? Vertical speed and horizontal speed. Guys, take a look at this for a second. I can do if I want this to look nicer in my editor, in my inspector here, I can make some changes inside my code. Watch. So here I can go into my code, and where it says these variables, I can create headers for them like this. I can use square brackets, and I can make a thing called header, and then I can call the header whatever I want. For example, minimum or min-max speeds, min-max speeds, right? And if I go back to the inspector now, if I save that, it's just going to show that as a header. Look. Looks nice, right? But I tell you, this is like, it needs something like this. That's what it needs. I'm not going to do it. All right, minimum vertical speed. Minimum means 0.1, which is what I had the other one at. Maximum vertical speed, maybe 0.2 would be the maximum. Okay, minimum horizontal speed. We want very little drift. So something like, I want to go to like towards the left. I want to move towards the left, something like, and again, this is the minimum, almost like left. I'm going left, so I'm going to say minus 0.0. I'm just going to come up with this. 2, right? And then positive 0.02, okay? So again, we'll see if these values make any sense. We don't know. Okay, I'm just putting some values. The vertical and horizontal speed, this one, is going to be calculated. So we don't want to touch these. Are we ready to go? Ignat, you good? Let's try it out and see if it works. So, yeah, no cloud. What happened to my cloud? So let's see what's going on here. My cloud is sitting there. See? That's one thing that we can really test out, right? Like, what's going on with my cloud? How come it's not moving, right? Let's just test out my stuff here. So I'm going to move and then check bounce. So here's my move, transform.component. And I'm going to say, okay, what's my horizontal speed? And then what's my vertical speed? And horizontal speed and vertical speed, well, that's something I need. Did I get an error? Like, why didn't I move? This becomes 0, 0. This isn't moving, right? So where am I making it horizontal and vertical speed? Well, it's done here in my reset function, right? This is where it's being set. I never recall my reset function for the first time. So in my start function, let's call reset. Underscore reset. Hello. And now it might work. Let's see if it works now. So save it, go back, and then call it. And then we can see that now we're going to have our cloud, some faster clouds, some slower clouds, moving to the left, moving to the right. And we're pretty good, right? Okay, I want more than one of these clouds, but for me, I have to make this a prefab. So I'm going to go back to my prefabs. I'm going to drag and drop my cloud into this, and now we have a prefab. Okay, I have a cloud. Now, I don't want this cloud to be like this. I don't want to have 3 clouds in here. I want something to generate a number of clouds for me. Let's get rid of this cloud too, this one. Let's get rid of this one. So delete. If I delete it, it doesn't matter. I can bring them back in as many as I want. I can do this. I can say 1 cloud, 2 clouds, 3 clouds. I can do whatever I want, right? And then if I want to, I can do something like this. No problem, if I really want to. But this is messy. And what if I had more things I wanted to do? So I don't want this, but they would work. This would totally work, right? I want that to happen programmatically. And the way to do this programmatically is to have a game controller. So let's make a new empty object. This is the last thing we'll do today. A new empty object, and we'll call this thing game controller. Game controller. Oh yeah, and I forgot to add my my tag. Game controller. Sorry? Right click, create empty. The game controller doesn't matter where it is. It's just an empty object. I'm just going to reset it so it's in the middle, just because for for consistency, right? But the game controller does not render. It doesn't have a renderable. Notice that? There is no renderable component, which means my game controller will never draw. It won't draw anything. It's just there for me to hold a script. That's all I'm going to use it for. Tricks, tricks, tricks. I'm going to tag it as a game controller, right? I'm going to make a new tag as well. I'm going to make a new tag from my cloud, which I forgot to do. Let's make one, right? And then with my cloud, if I want to tag it, I got to open my prefab now. Open my prefab, change it to cloud. There we go. There we go. So my game controller, cool. All right, I want a script for this thing. Let's add a script. So I'm going to go to scripts, add a new script. We're going to call it game controller. God, this looks like it's repeating, right? And it is. Right? Game controller. Double click on game controller. I'm going to have my game controller script. Okay. What am I doing with this thing? I need a reference to a game object. This is new. Ready? It's going to be like this. Public game object. We're going to call this cloud. Okay? Cloud. Yeah? If I did this, that's nice. But I don't want this. This does 1 cloud. Okay? So if I do this, look, game controller, I want to attach a script called game controller. And if you notice right away, I have this thing called cloud. Look. I can drag and drop from my prefabs into this thing. Right? So now what I'm doing is I have a reference to my blueprint, my prefab called cloud here inside my game controller. I did it by doing this. Look, in my game controller, I just did this. Okay, my game controller, all I did was to make it was right click and make it create an empty. Okay? All right, so now you can see that I have this game controller with a cloud on it, right? Okay, if I have a cloud, I have a reference to that prefab, which means I can make as many as I want. Okay? How do I do this? I want to make a list of clouds. A list of clouds. And in fact, I can show this list. I can say that I want to make a public, right, list of type cloud, right? And it's really a game object list more than anything else, right? A game object list. We're going to call this list clouds. Clouds. Okay, I don't have to make this public, but I'm going to make it public so you can see it. And then in my start, I'm going to instantiate this list. I'm going to say that, and I don't have to do this actually, but I'm going to do it to be precise. Clouds is equal to a new list of type game objects. So I make an empty list. This makes the empty list of type game object, right? And now what I want to do is I want to build the cloud list. I want to build it. So here I make it, and then I want to build it. I'm going to use a new function for that. So I'm going to say it's going to be called, create or build cloud list. Let's call it that. So I'll say I'll be private, and I'll say build cloud list. Okay, and it's got to be void, like you said. And then what I'll say is this. I'll say that my clouds dot add, right? I want to add a bunch of clouds, and I want to do that in a for loop. So I'm going to say for. You can choose this for loop right here, which will make my for loop template, right? So for, we'll say call this count, and this will be less than. We'll call this cloud num. We don't have cloud num, but we will. I want to make clouds. And the way you make clouds is you have to use the keyword instantiate. Instantiate, and then I want to use cloud. That's all I need to do. Now the only thing I'm missing is cloud num because I want to make this variable. I don't want to have the same cloud number. So up at the top I can make another public reference, a public float. We'll call this cloud num. Sorry, int. Thank you. Cloud, because I can't have half a cloud. I can't. Cloud num. C lowercase c. Okay, there we go. All right, that's it. I've got everything I need here. Cloud num lowercase c.
You haven't added to
Sorry.
you haven't added cloud to the list of clouds.
Yes. I did the wrong thing. I don't do this. I want to actually I can do this. Hold on a second. But that would be bad. No, I want to do exactly what I did, okay? But I want to do it like this. I want to say that clouds dot add and then instantiate cloud like this. Sorry, I was doing it, my mind I skipped a step. So why is that? Because instantiate returns a game object type. Look, that's what it returns. When I return the game object, I instantiate it also, it puts it in my scene, and at the same time I keep track of it with my clouds array. So why did I do this? Because now I can hide my clouds array, whatever. One thing that you'll see is that it'll appear in the hierarchy, come in a weird spot, and we're gonna fix that in a second. All right, so if I go back, right, build cloud list, I have to call this too. I'm gonna build my cloud list inside of my start. So start, I'm gonna say underscore build cloud list. We're almost done, guys. Build cloud list. And then when I do this and I run it, you can see I have cloud num. I'm going to call this for clouds. I have a reference to my cloud object, and here are my clouds. So far there's none. Look, here's my clouds list. But if I run this thing, you can see now that I have 4 clouds and they're called clones, and they also appear here, cloud clones. I can change this, so if I said my cloud is only 2, as an example, it won't do anything now. It's already been instantiated. It's too late, right? but I can try different numbers out, right? So let's try a different number. Let's say instead of 4, I think, maybe 2 is okay. So then I can try it right here in the inspector and see what that looks like. Right? 2. Here's something though. When I run this thing, look what happens. It makes all these clouds and it clutters up my hierarchy, right? What if I want these clouds to be kind of grouped together? So I almost have a little spacing here. Well, I can do that. I can have one game object inside of another one. So let's make another empty. I'll make another empty game object. And I'll call this game object clouds container. Clouds container. It's just an empty game object. That's all it is, right? I'll reset it. So I'll go to this little gear here, and I'll reset it. So it's 0, 0, 0, 0. Everything's 0, 0.
How do you set it?
Here, reset. And what I want is I want a reference to this clouds container. So if I go back to my script here, I want to go to the top where it says, maybe somewhere here, and say a public game object. And I'm going to call this cloud container. Okay? This is going to give me the reference to this thing. Right? In fact, let's not make it a game object. Let's make it a transform. You can specify what you want. I want a transform. I don't want the whole game object. Just the location. Just the transform. All right, now that I have this transform, I can scroll down, and when I say this, when I instantiate this thing, I want the parent of this thing. I want to make a new cloud first. I'll do it in two steps. So first I'll instantiate it. I'll say var instantiate. So var cloud is equal to instantiate this thing. All right, so I want to make this like this. I'll say var new cloud, and I'm gonna break this up into 2 lines. New cloud, okay? I'm gonna say instantiate this cloud, but I want to say that my new cloud dot transform dot parent is equal to the cloud container and dot transform. So what this is saying is this, right? Why is this giving me a problem? What was that? Oh yeah. So what they're saying is this: make a new cloud, instantiate it. Then, with my transform, my parent of my transform is equal to the cloud container transform, which means that it's going to appear inside of my cloud container. It's going to in my hierarchy, inside. So when I do this, and if I go back out to my cloud controller, or my game controller, I'm just going to drag and drop this clouds container into this, like this. And when I do this, and if I run it, it's going to appear the same here in play. But guess what? All my clouds are going to be in here, which is a nice little neat thing. It wraps them up so it doesn't clutter my hierarchy. Otherwise, everything is in my hierarchy. It's a terrible thing. Guys, we covered a lot today. And we did basically most of Mail Pilot we completed today. And the only thing that's left for next week is a UI for a start scene. I'm going to make a brand new scene. Collision detection, right, to make things work. Sounds, score, all that can be done, no problem. We can do it another hour, we could have all that done. Absolutely. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this up on GitHub for you guys. And I'm always recording this, so you can always go back and take a look at this. By the way, the cloud container is just a transform. You guys good? So guys, thank you so much for this. I know we covered a lot. This is Unity, like Intro to Unity 101. Hopefully this helped get you guys to understand how it works. And the next week we'll do more. Okay, so I'll stop recording now and I'll put this up on GitHub.